My ex-husband's wife called me financially abusive for refusing to pay for her daughter's dance program. Months later, records revealed who had been stealing from the children. The package arrived Monday in a navy envelope. I had saved for 13 months. I canceled subscriptions, stopped ordering food on weekends, and sold the treadmill that had become a coat rack. After dinner, I placed it in front of my 15-year-old son, Noah. He opened it slowly, read the first page, then looked at me like the little boy who had once seen the ocean for the first time. "Mom, is this real?" It was. 6 weeks at the Atlantic Marine Research Program in Savannah. Coastal fieldwork, laboratory training, and boat surveys. The deposit was paid, his name was printed on the certificate. Noah had wanted to study marine biology since he was 9. He photographed the certificate and posted it online, finally getting out on the water. I felt proud for one evening. The next morning, my ex-husband called before 7. Mark did not say hello or congratulate Noah. "Vanessa's daughter saw the post," he said, "and now we have a serious problem." Vanessa had 2 children from her previous marriage. Tessa was 13 and Owen was 10. According to Mark, Tessa had cried because Noah was receiving an expensive opportunity while her dance tuition remained unpaid. Then he reached the request. He wanted $900 transferred by Friday for lessons, costumes, and competition fees. He called it restoring balance between the children. I asked why I would be responsible for expenses in his household. "Because you clearly have money available," he said. "We are supposed to operate like one family." "We stopped being one family when you moved out. Noah and Emily are my children. Tessa and Owen are not mine. That does not make them my responsibility." Mark accused me of punishing children because I resented Vanessa. I ended the call. 12 minutes later, Vanessa emailed me. The subject line read, "Financial harm within our blended family." She wrote that investing only in my biological children created an abusive hierarchy. She claimed I was teaching Noah and Emily that they were more valuable than her children. She used the phrase responsible co-mother 3 times. I had never agreed to be anyone's co-mother. She threatened to document my refusal for future custody proceedings. I created a folder called Evidence and sent every message from Vanessa there. Mark and I had been divorced for 5 years. Our custody order covered weekends, 1 evening each week, alternating holidays, and child support. Neither household had any duty to finance the other household's stepchildren. The boundary was clear on paper. In practice, Vanessa treated every purchase I made for Noah and Emily as an attack. What I did not know was that Mark and Vanessa were not merely angry about money I refused to give them, they had already found another way to take it. Mark and I met in Richmond when we were 26. He once worked in medical sales. I then managed purchasing for a hospital group. For years, we were ordinary in the best way. We ate dinner together. He handled bedtime when I worked late. He built forts with Noah and took Emily to the park. Then he started traveling more. Eventually, home became somewhere he visited between hotels. Vanessa appeared before he left. I discovered the affair through a restaurant charge in Charleston while Mark claimed he was staying with his sick brother. I copied the statements, hired an attorney, and filed quietly. 3 months later, he moved into Vanessa's house. They married the following spring. Vanessa judged how I raised my children from the beginning. When Emily joined a robotics club, she said I was creating jealousy. When my parents bought Noah a used laptop, Mark asked me to help buy computers for Tessa and Owen. When I refused, he called it visible inequality. I realized they were building a story about me when Emily was 10. She entered a school engineering competition and built a small solar-powered water pump. We spent 2 weekends assembling wires, tubing, and a tiny motor. She understood every part. Mark arrived for pickup, looked at the project, and said it seemed expensive. Then he told Emily in front of Noah that I was teaching them money solved everything. Emily stared at the pump. "Grandpa bought the motor," she said. Mark shrugged. On Monday, Emily won second place. He did not attend. By then, missed events were normal. I kept a spreadsheet because my attorney told me to document visits, cancellations, missed calls, and school events. Across 18 months, Mark attended less than 20% of what he promised. The one Emily remembered most was her debate final. She prepared for 6 weeks. Index cards covered the table. She practiced rebuttals on Noah and corrected me when I tried to help. Mark promised he would be there. He confirmed twice. Emily told her coach her father was coming. He was not in the audience when she walked to the podium. He was not there when she won. My mother drove 4 hours to attend. When families were called forward, she stood beside Emily and wrapped an arm around her. Mark arrived almost an hour after the ceremony ended. He claimed traffic had stopped after an accident. Emily looked at him. "Grandma's the one who actually shows up," she said. She did not sound angry. She sounded finished. 2 weeks later, I learned there had been no accident. Mark had been at Tessa's dance rehearsal 12 minutes away. He had chosen where to go. He expected Emily to accept the lie. That was the pattern. Vanessa's children received his time, while mine were told that wanting their father made them selfish. So when Mark suddenly demanded more custody after years of missed visits, I knew it was not about Noah or Emily. It was about what having them in his house could do for him. The reason became clear when Vanessa's ex-husband, Aaron, filed for emergency custody of Tessa and Owen. Aaron had primary custody, but the children spent weekends with Vanessa and Mark. The filing described public screaming, neglect, and threatening messages. Aaron was building his case carefully. Mark and Vanessa needed proof their home was stable. They decided Noah and Emily could provide it. Mark appeared Tuesday at 8:40 p.m. without calling. Noah was doing homework. Emily was upstairs. Mark placed 2 legal forms beside Noah's laptop. They were unfinished affidavits with spaces for the children to describe him as a dependable father. Noah read the first page. "How am I supposed to write about weekends that never happened?" Mark's expression tightened. He said the statements did not need to mention every missed visit. They only needed to show he cared about family. Then he told Noah that refusing could hurt Tessa and Owen. I set down my coffee. "You have 30 seconds to take those papers and leave." Mark accused me of interfering. I picked up my phone. He gathered the forms and left before I called the police. 3 days later, my attorney received a request for mandatory mediation. Mark wanted equal custody. His petition said he wished to become more present in Noah and Emily's lives. His real reason surfaced within 10 minutes. Vanessa's custody hearing was approaching. Having Noah and Emily in their house half the time would help them appear stable. My children were not being invited into a family. They were being used as evidence. The mediation took place downtown. My attorney, Rachel, sat beside me. Mark brought his attorney in, Vanessa. Vanessa spoke before the mediator finished introductions. She claimed my refusal to pay Tessa's dance expenses had created instability. She said I was making her children feel inferior and damaging her marriage. Rachel looked at her notes. "My client has no obligation to subsidize the household of the woman who helped end her marriage." Mark stared at the table. The mediator asked why he wanted more custody when records showed he had completed only 19% of his scheduled visits. Mark called the previous years a difficult transition. Then he said he was protecting his legacy. I looked at him. "You missed Emily's debate final to attend Tessa's rehearsal. You lied about an accident. Is that the legacy you mean?" The room went silent. Vanessa leaned forward. She said that unless I accepted equal custody and let the children sign affidavits, she would tell every parent in our district that I was a financial abuser who used money to turn children against their father. She said the post was already written. I looked at Mark. He did not deny it. Rachel closed her folder. "Mediation is over. Any further attempt to pressure Noah or Emily will be included in our motion." We stood to leave. Vanessa smiled at me. By that evening, her post was online. I saw it. Vanessa's post appeared at 8:16 p.m. My first name was in the opening paragraph. She included a cropped image of Noah's acceptance letter. She described a divorced mother who used money to control her former husband's household. According to her, I bought opportunities for my children to make Tessa and Owen feel unwanted. She wrote that I had trained Noah and Emily to reject their father through strategic generosity. It sounded calm and almost reasonable. It was also false. By 10 o'clock, 40 people had commented. Several called me a narcissist. One suggested reporting me to child services. Parents I barely knew sent screenshots. I did not answer publicly. Rachel told me to preserve everything. At 9:30, my doorbell rang. A man stood on the porch holding a large envelope. I recognized him after a moment. Aaron. Vanessa's ex-husband. He said he had driven around twice before stopping. "You need to see what my attorney found," he said. Inside were bank records. 12 transfers had been made across 7 months. Some were $400. Others were close to $1,000. The source accounts belonged to Noah and Emily. Mark's parents had opened custodial education funds for them when they were babies. Mark remained listed as co-trustee, because I had never imagined he would touch money saved for his children. The receiving account belonged to Vanessa. The transfers matched her legal fees, Tess's dance costs, and a family trip to Orlando. Mark had been taking money from Noah and Emily's future to finance Vanessa's legal fight and her children's activities. I sat on the floor beside the open door. Aaron remained on the porch. He said his attorney discovered the transfers while reviewing Vanessa's finances. He had not known the accounts belonged to my children until that morning. "I thought you should know before the hearing," he said. After he left, I realized Noah was standing upstairs. He had heard enough. "Did Dad take my money?" he asked. I wanted to protect him from the answer, but Mark had already taken enough through lies. "Yes." Noah nodded once. He did not shout or cry. He returned to his room and closed the door quietly. That silence was worse than anger. The next morning, I arrived at the bank before it opened. I brought the records, birth certificates, account documents, and Rachel's number. The manager froze both accounts while we reviewed every withdrawal connected to Mark. Halfway through the meeting, my phone rang. The number was from Savannah. A woman from the Atlantic Marine Research Program asked whether I had requested Noah's withdrawal and a full refund. I had not. Someone had called the previous afternoon pretending to be me. They provided Noah's full name, birth date, enrollment number, and the address where the refund check should be sent. The address belonged to Mark and Vanessa. They had not only taken from his education fund, they were trying to steal the program itself. The program coordinator placed the refund on immediate hold. She promised to preserve the call recording, incoming number, and every note. I gave her Rachel's contact information and asked that nothing be released without written authorization. Then I called Rachel. She contacted the bank's fraud department and requested emergency orders for the custodial accounts. By day's end, she had prepared claims involving identity theft, attempted fraud, and misuse of funds belonging to minors. The records revealed more. Mark and Vanessa had used Noah and Emily's money for legal retainers, dance fees, hotel deposits, and credit card balances. The total was $18,600. They had taken it slowly, an amount small enough to avoid attention. That evening, Mark called. I let it go to voicemail. His message began with anger. He accused me of freezing accounts that belonged partly to him. He said the transfers were temporary loans and would have been repaid after Vanessa's case. Then his tone changed. He said canceling Noah's program had been Vanessa's idea. She only wanted money that should have been shared fairly among all 4 children. He called it a misunderstanding. I forwarded the voicemail to Rachel. The next morning, Mark's parents came to my house. Arthur and Elaine had created the education funds when Noah and Emily were born. They were retired teachers who had saved carefully and trusted their son as co-trustee. Arthur held copies of the statements. He looked older than he had a week earlier. "We didn't know," Elaine said. I believed her. Arthur asked whether Noah still had his place in Savannah. "The refund was stopped," I said. "They're restoring his enrollment." Elaine covered her mouth and cried. Arthur stared at the table. Mark had told them the accounts were growing and that he made regular contributions. In reality, he had deposited nothing for almost 3 years. Arthur offered to replace the missing money. I told him repayment needed to come from Mark. "This is not your debt." Arthur looked at me. "No," he said, "but he is our son." I understood. Loving someone did not make you responsible for repairing everything they destroyed, but it did not protect you from seeing them clearly. Rachel filed the emergency motions that afternoon. Mark's request for equal custody was suspended. His access to the accounts was removed. The court ordered that neither Mark nor Vanessa contact Noah or Emily about the case. Vanessa responded online before she responded legally. She edited her post and claimed I was using wealthy attorneys to punish a struggling blended family. This time, the comments changed. Someone posted screenshots of the transfers. Another person asked why Noah's refund had been directed to her address. Within an hour, Vanessa deleted everything, but the screenshots had already spread. For once, I did not need to defend myself. The records were doing it for me. I had proof. The first hearing took place 9 days later. Mark arrived with a new attorney. Vanessa sat behind him, still believing confidence could outweigh documents. Rachel presented the bank statements, the attempted refund, the voicemail, and the preserved call records from Savannah. The judge asked Mark one question. Why was money belonging to your children transferred into your wife's personal account? Mark said the funds were used for family needs. The judge asked whether Noah and Emily had agreed. Mark said they were minors and could not understand household planning. Rachel placed Noah's acceptance certificate on the table. Your Honor, one of those needs was an attempt to cancel this child's program and redirect the refund. Mark looked toward Vanessa. She stared ahead. The court removed him as co-trustee and ordered a forensic review. His visitation was reduced to supervised contact until a family evaluation was completed. His petition for equal custody was dismissed. Aaron's attorney submitted messages showing threats toward Tessa and Owen, missed pickups, and demands that the children lie about conditions in her home. Money taken from Noah and Emily had paid part of Vanessa's legal retainer and several dance expenses. Her attorney described the transfers as support between spouses. The judge called them evidence of instability. By June, Tessa and Owen were living with Aaron full-time. Vanessa received supervised visits while completing counseling and a parenting evaluation. Mark and Vanessa remained together, but their life began collapsing. Legal fees consumed their savings. Mark's parents stopped speaking to him, except through attorneys. The school district opened a review after Vanessa used student information in her post. Tessa and Owen had lost the home they knew. Noah and Emily had lost the illusion that their father would choose them when it mattered. Consequences were necessary. They were not painless. Mark settled before trial. He accepted responsibility for $18,600 and signed a repayment schedule secured against his retirement account. He surrendered all financial authority over Noah and Emily. Future contact had to follow the supervised plan. When Rachel called with the agreement, I was in a grocery store parking lot. "You won," she said. I watched people push carts between cars. It doesn't feel like winning. It usually doesn't. Noah's Savannah enrollment was restored. The program waived every fee and assigned a security password to his file. I told him the place was safe, before explaining how close he had come to losing it. He listened quietly. Then he asked, "Was Dad ever going to tell me?" No. That answer hurt him, but I refused to soften it into another lie. He looked down at the certificate. "I'm still going." "Yes." He nodded. "Good." For the first time since the records appeared, something in his face opened again. Not trust. Clear direction.
Noah left for Savannah in July. I drove him to the airport before sunrise. He wore his gray hoodie and carried a backpack filled with notebooks and snacks Emily had packed. At security, he hugged me quickly. "I'll text when I land." Then he turned back. "Mom?" "Yes. Thank you for not letting them take this." I wanted to tell him he had earned every part of it, that saving the program was not generosity, but protection. Instead, I said, "Go learn something impossible." He smiled and disappeared into the line. 3 days later, he called from a dock. Wind tore through the phone. He had completed his first boat survey and helped tag a juvenile shark. His voice sounded lighter than it had in months. An instructor said he had natural spatial awareness. Noah repeated that sentence twice, pretending it did not matter. It mattered. Emily was quieter. She did not ask for hearing details. She heard enough from Noah and understood more than either of us wanted. Her debate season began in August. Mark could attend public events with approval, but he missed the first tournament. And the second. At the regional final, my mother drove from Raleigh and sat in the front row. Emily won again. When families were invited forward, she reached for her grandmother without searching the room. Afterward, we went to dinner. Emily ordered the most expensive steak on the menu and waited for me to object. I did not. "What?" she asked. "I'm proud of you." "Because I won?" "Because you stopped apologizing for taking up space." She smiled. Mark began the repayment plan in September. The first payment arrived late. The second was incomplete. Rachel notified the court. After that, deductions came directly from his wages. Vanessa stopped posting publicly. Her accounts became private, then vanished. People who had shared her accusations sent awkward messages. Some apologized. Others claimed they had always suspected something was wrong. I answered a few. Aaron occasionally sent updates about Tessa and Owen. They were settling into school and attending counseling. Tessa had quit competitive dance. I felt no satisfaction. She had never asked adults to turn her disappointment into a weapon. All 4 children had been used differently, but used all the same. One evening in October, Mark called from the supervised visitation office. He asked whether I could convince Noah and Emily to attend. They don't want to. You've poisoned them against me. No, you gave them records. He was silent. Then he said Vanessa had left. She had moved in with her sister after an argument. She blamed him for losing custody and signing the repayment agreement. Mark sounded stunned that the person who helped him spend their money no longer wanted to share the consequences. "What am I supposed to do now?" he asked. It was the same question he asked whenever his choices became expensive. For years, I answered it. This time, I let the silence do the work.
Mark called again the following week. This time he did not ask about the children. He asked whether I knew where Vanessa had gone. I told him I did not. She had emptied their joint account before leaving. The rent was due, his cards were maxed out, and the attorney wanted another retainer. There was something almost symmetrical about it. For months he had helped Vanessa take money from Noah and Emily because he believed family resources belonged to whoever demanded them most loudly. Now Vanessa had used that logic on him. "She says I ruined everything," he said. "You made choices together. She planned most of it. You signed the transfers. She told me we would replace the money. You tried to cancel Noah's program." Silence. Then he said the sentence people use when explanations are gone. "I made a mistake." "No, you made the same decision 12 times. He asked whether the children would speak to him if he apologized. I said that was not my decision. The center offered sessions, calls, and letters. Noah refused every option. Emily accepted one letter, read the first paragraph, and returned it after Mark blamed Vanessa. "He still doesn't understand," she told me. She was right. Mark did not miss the children as people. He missed being a father and how it made him feel. Noah returned from Savannah at the end of August. He came through the airport carrying a duffel bag that smelled like salt water and diesel. His arms were darker from the sun, and he spoke for 40 minutes without stopping. He had sampled marsh water, mapped dolphin sightings, and helped remove fishing line from a pelican's wing. Then he handed me an envelope. Inside was a photograph of him on a research boat in an orange life jacket. On the back he had written, "They trusted me with something alive." I placed it beside his acceptance letter. A month later, Noah said he wanted to apply to a science high school. Tuition would be difficult, but scholarships existed. Before, I would have hidden the application until it was certain. I had learned to conceal good things because Mark and Vanessa treated Joy like a resource stolen from them. This time, I let Noah talk about it openly. He told his teachers. He asked my parents for advice. He helped Emily prepare for debate. Our house slowly stopped organizing itself around what Mark might do next. That was the change I wanted more than any order. Not revenge. Freedom from anticipation. In November, a final accounting arrived from the bank. The transfers had caused fees and investment losses. Mark now owed more than he took. Arthur and Elaine asked to meet Noah and Emily. They apologized without defending their son. Noah listened. Emily asked whether they had known. When they said no, she believed them. The children agreed to keep seeing their grandparents. Mark was not included. For the first time, the family continued without arranging itself around him. The world did not collapse. By winter, the house felt different. Not healed, but quieter in a way that no longer felt dangerous. For years, silence had meant Mark was planning something, Vanessa was drafting a message, or another demand was waiting behind a notification. Now silence meant dinner cooling on the stove, Emily reading on the couch, Noah filling out scholarship forms at the table. Ordinary silence. Mark's supervised visits remained available. He attended 2 in December. At the first, he arrived 20 minutes late and spent most of the hour explaining his financial problems. Emily asked whether he wanted to know anything about school. Mark said of course. Then he forgot the name of her debate partner. At the second visit, he brought gifts the center had not approved, headphones for Noah and a designer bag for Emily. The supervisor asked him to return them to his car. Mark became angry. He said I had always used money to control affection and now the court was helping me. Noah stood. "You stole my college money." Mark looked toward the supervisor. "That is being handled." "No," Noah said. "It happened." The visit ended early. Neither child requested another. In January, Vanessa contacted me from a new email address. She said Mark had manipulated her. She claimed he controlled the accounts and convinced her the transfers were temporary. She offered to testify against him if I would tell Erin she deserved unsupervised custody. I forwarded the email to Rachel and did not respond. Vanessa had called me an abuser when the accusation gave her leverage. Now she wanted to become a victim because that position offered more. She had impersonated me during the cancellation call. She had given the program Noah's enrollment number and directed the refund to her home. She had not been confused, she had been caught. Erin's attorney used the message in the custody evaluation. Vanessa's supervised arrangement remained unchanged. Spring, Noah received a partial scholarship to the science school. When the letter arrived, he opened it at the same kitchen table where he had read the marine program acceptance. He smiled, but this time he did not ask whether it was real. He knew. Emily made a banner for the door. My parents brought cake. Arthur and Elaine sent card and contributed through the school's secure payment portal. Noah posted the news online. Not because we were afraid, because some joy feels stronger when it is not offered to an audience. That evening, Noah asked whether I believed Mark would ever change. I thought about the settlement, the late payments, the supervised visits, and the apology letter that blamed everyone except himself. I think people can change, I said, but wanting your old life back is not the same as becoming different. Noah nodded. On the refrigerator, beside the boat photograph, I placed his scholarship letter. The page did not erase what Mark had done. It proved he had failed to stop what came next. The final custody review took place in May. Mark appeared without Vanessa. He wore a suit that no longer fit and carried certificates from parenting classes, financial counseling, and sobriety meetings. For the first time, he did not ask for equal custody. He asked to rebuild contact. The evaluator questioned Noah and Emily separately. Noah said he did not want visits yet. He might reconsider after graduation if Mark completed repayment and stopped blaming others. Emily said she would accept letters, but only if they contained no excuses. The judge approved those boundaries. Mark looked at me when the order was read. I expected anger. Instead, he looked tired. Outside the courtroom, he approached. "I know you think I destroyed everything," he said. "You did not destroy everything." He seemed surprised. "You tried. But the children still have futures and people who show up." His face tightened. "And they do not have a father. They have one, they just cannot trust him. I thought the money would be replaced before anyone noticed. That is what you keep apologizing for, getting caught." He started to argue, then stopped. "I was jealous," he said. "I waited. Every time they achieved something with you, it proved they did not need me. Vanessa said all 4 children had to be equal. I knew it was wrong, but it made me feel necessary. You could have become necessary by showing up." "I know." Just 2 words, arriving years late. It did not repair anything. But it was true. I reminded him the next payment was due Friday, and left. That summer, Emily competed at the National Debate Invitational. My mother sat beside me. Arthur and Elaine sat several rows back. Mark could not approach Emily without approval, but he bought a ticket and sat near the exit. He arrived before the first round. He stayed through every speech. When Emily placed third, he did not push forward for the photograph. He remained behind the rope while families gathered. Emily saw him. For a moment, neither moved. Then she gave him a small nod. Mark nodded back. It was not forgiveness. It was acknowledgement of one correct choice. He had shown up. Afterward, Emily asked whether I had invited him. No. Did he tell you he was coming? No. She considered that. Good, she said. In the parking lot, my mother handed Emily flowers. Arthur and Elaine took photographs. Noah called from his internship for a report. We went to dinner without Mark. No one discussed whether that was cool. A boundary did not become cruelty because the person outside it felt lonely. The next morning, a plain envelope appeared in our mailbox. Inside was a note from Mark addressed to both children. I attended because it mattered to you. I did not speak because the day belonged to you.
Emily read it twice. Then she placed it beside her debate medal, not as proof that everything had changed, as proof that change would have to arrive, one small action at a time.
By September, the repayment balance had fallen below $10,000. The number mattered less than the pattern. For the first time, Mark paid on time. He attended counseling and sent one letter each month. When Rachel returned a letter because it blamed Vanessa, the next one did not. Noah never answered. Emily wrote back once. "You keep saying you lost us. You did not lose us. You made choices until we stopped feeling safe with you." Mark did not respond for 3 weeks. When he finally did, he wrote, "You are right." That was all. I kept Vanessa's original post in the evidence folder. For months, I hated knowing strangers had read it and believed I was cruel. Eventually, I stopped. The truth had already done what arguments could not. Vanessa called me a financial abuser while using my children's money. She accused me of creating inequality while Mark transferred funds from Noah and Emily to her household. She claimed I weaponized opportunities while she tried to cancel the one Noah had worked toward for years. Her accusation had never described me. It described the room she was standing in. People often accuse others first so nobody looks at what they are doing. For a while, it worked. Then the documents arrived. No shouting, no revenge post, no public campaign, just dates, signatures, account numbers, and a refund check addressed to the wrong house. The records did not care who lied. In October, Noah returned for an alumni weekend. He sent me a photograph from a research vessel at sunrise. The ocean behind him was gray and enormous. He wore the same orange life jacket from his first summer. His message said, "They asked me to mentor the new students." I read it at the kitchen table where this story had begun. Emily was beside me for carrying another debate case. My mother was visiting. Arthur and Elaine were coming for dinner. The house was full of people who understood that showing up mattered more than claiming a title. Mark was not there. That absence no longer controlled the room. Later, a postcard arrived from Noah. On the front was the Georgia coast at sunset. On the back, beneath my address, he had written, "The water keeps moving, even after the storm." I placed it on the refrigerator beside his acceptance letter and Emily's debate medal. I used to believe winning meant proving Mark and Vanessa wrong. It did not. Winning was Noah boarding that plane. It was Emily standing at a podium without searching the audience for someone who had already chosen not to come. It was grandparents learning the truth and staying. It was a protected account, a restored dream, and a home no longer shaped by the next demand. The people who called me abusive wanted me to defend myself inside the story they had written. I refused. I documented everything, protected my children, and waited. In the end, I did not burn their life down. They built it, over stolen money, pressure, and lies. The truth only turned on the lights,